Woo! It is a great day. Woo! Welcome back, risers and thrivers. Boy, are we happy to have you here today. Firstly, I need to apologize because we needed to reschedule that last recording at 1 p.m. We're super last minute, but that's life, right? Life happens. And our incredible guest, Kevin Hines, had to reschedule last minute due to a family emergency. And we are extending him our very best wishes. And both of us promised to get you this show, this very much needed show in early in the new year. And this show was all about, I don't know if you know about Kevin Hines. He is an incredible, very passionate mental health advocate, suicide prevention advocate. And he himself had attempted suicide, having jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and miraculously survived. And he now passionately speaks all over the world because, my heavens, the World Health Organization tells us that over 700,000 lives are lost every year to suicide. In the United States alone, 12 million people have considered thoughts of suicide. Of that 12 million, a whopping 3.5 million have actually made plans, made a suicide plan. Of that, 1.4 have actually attempted suicide. And did you know that men are at a 3.7 times higher risk of suicide as compared to women? So we really all need to do our part, even over this holiday season. As joyous and as beautiful as the holidays are, they are equally as hard for so many. So reach out, extend a hand, offer support to anyone who you know who could use it. But again, I promised to get this show to you. I apologize again for the last minute cancellation. But again, life happens and we adapt, right? Adaptability is the number one determinant in our success, as our amazing guest, Miranda Frigon, knows very well, who has had to adapt through all of life's hurdles and obstacles. And I am so happy to have Miranda with us here today. Welcome to the show, Miranda.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Gosh, everyone. Miranda is a cystic fibrosis warrior. She is absolutely incredible. She spent much of her childhood in the hospital. She has since had 2 double lung transplants, believe it or not, 2, a whopping 2. And now, as a result of all of the harsh medications that have saved her life, they also risk her life in another way because they're not super specific, right? And they target all these things in the body, not just where we want them to target. And her kidneys have now taken such a toll. She has been on the transplant waiting list for 3 years. Just imagine that. She's been in dialysis for 3 years. And she is this, look at her, this young, beautiful, radiant single mom. We need to get her living life to the fullest, not attached to all of this, all of these dialysis tubes and equipment so often. And so we are here to passionately talk about organ donation and all that Miranda's been through, the tools that she's used to really stay the course through all of this. And just look at her. She thrives. She is this ray of sunshine. She is adored by everyone she meets. So Miranda, I'm just so happy that you're here today. She's one of my incredible friends. I don't know what I'd do without her. We both met after our lung transplant surgeries originally, and we've just been kindred souls since. And I'm thrilled to introduce you, risers, to this amazing inspiration. I just can't wait for her to share all that she is and all that she's been through with you. So Miranda, thank you. Can you take us back a bit, like bring us back to your childhood? You've got CF, you spent a lot of it of your childhood in the hospital. Tell us what that was like.
For me, I actually get asked this question quite often. And I think I didn't really know any different because I was just always sick right from the get-go. I was always sick. I was always in the hospital. It was just almost normal to me. I didn't know any different. So, I mean, I don't know if that makes it easier, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I was in and out of the hospital my whole life. As I got older, I would spend 3 weeks in the hospital. I'd be home for a month, 3 weeks in the hospital, home for a month. So it really was like my second home growing up.
It sounds like it. And I know what you're saying too. I mean, my youngest was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 9, and very different than type 2 diabetes. It's life-changing. It's life-threatening. He's insulin dependent. And, a lot of people when he was diagnosed at 9 said, gosh, Erica, he's never going to remember what it was like to not be a type 1 diabetic, right? This is just going to become his life because he was so young at his diagnosis. And I'm sure it's the same for you, right? You've grown up this way. This is your life. This is what you've always known, but your incredible resilience and your positivity throughout, it's just so admirable, I have to say. So yeah, no, thank you. What were some of the tools that you found helpful even as a child? Did you have a lot of support? Did your family have a lot of support? What was in place then?
I think that is the biggest thing. I have so much support. I have so many amazing family and friends who have always supported me through everything. Also, the nurses become like your family when you spend so much time with them. The physiotherapists, the doctors, they all become part of your family and your circle. And you really get to know them on a different level.
Yes.
And they would come in on their breaks and play cards with you. And you just you get excited to see them every day.
No, I too agree. I remember playing Uno with the staff late at night at like 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. I always kind of equated it to UBC residents, like it's just, and I always try to find the silver linings of my journey. And I know you do too. And for me, all of the people that my journey brought in tow were such a blessing, right? I never otherwise would have met these beautiful hearts had I not been sick and had I not gone through all that I've been through in my own survival. And I just feel like I was meant to meet these people, that they've all truly enriched my life. And I just feel really blessed for those people along the path. And I know you do too, which is an amazing gift, right? And we have to see these things as a gift in the face of such struggle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you finish high school, yes, and you miraculously get pregnant with your beautiful son. Yes, and this is like a feat because it's very rare for people with CF to get pregnant. Is that correct? You were told you couldn't. Is that right?
I was told it was unlikely. It's not impossible, but it's not common. I know a lot of CF women have a very difficult time. He's my little blessing for sure.
Oh, what a gift.
In my teenagers, I just struggled a lot. I didn't really have purpose, I guess. I had made a lot of friends in the hospital, like growing up with cystic fibrosis. And I watched them all die their 19th birthday, all of them. I went to so many funerals before my 19th birthday, I can't even tell you. And so I just kind of had this mentality in my head, like, well, I'm going to have a short life. And, this is just going to be my life. I'm probably going to live till 20 if I'm lucky. So I partied and I was just like, I'm just going to enjoy it and whatever. And then Kale came along and everything changed for me. He gave me hope.
Such a blessing, but I can't even imagine how hard that would have been to watch all of your friends pass at such a young age. What were you feeling in your heart at that point?
Scared.
Scared for yourself.
This is going to be my fate as well. I mean, especially so I grew up with them. Like we were in the hospital together all the time. So you become close with these people.
So much to grapple at such a young age.
Yeah. My mom and I were always going to funerals.
Wow.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
And did the CF Foundation, did Children's Hospital, did they have supports in place for you to help you navigate all of that loss at such a young age?
They do. Children's Hospital is absolutely amazing. They have psychologists, therapists, the child specialists, all of them are just so helpful and amazing.
And so you felt you were able to really work out that hurt along the way?
Yeah. I mean, as best as you can, right? It's still hard to do.
Yes.
But yeah, I did have lots of support through it.
Okay. And then you have amazing Kale, which is such a blessing. Yes. And you are this passionate mom with so much vim and vigor. And you're an excellent mom. I've witnessed you firsthand. And then your lungs started to fail quite a bit more. And then you needed a double lung transplant. Tell us a bit about that, please.
So I think I was told when I was about, I want to say 22, that I needed a lung transplant. And honestly, it just didn't come as a surprise. I knew that was the path I was going down. And it's kind of strange, but I always kind of knew growing up that this would, where it would lead to one day. I always knew that this would be the end game, is that one day I will need a double lung transplant. So it wasn't really like a big surprise or a shock when they told me that. I was already kind of prepared. I mean, I don't know if that makes it easier. It's still scary.
Of course.
But, yeah. So then I waited for 3 years on the wait list, but I declined pretty slowly. Like my health was quite stable. It was a very slow decline, thankfully. And then when I started getting really sick, I got my lungs like right away. So that was really nice.
And how did you feel after?
Yeah, my recovery on that first transplant was amazing. honestly, I recovered so fast. I think I was out of the hospital within a month. I was like hiking
Wow.
mountains within 3 months. It was incredible
Wow.
how fast I recovered. Yeah, it was amazing.
Wow. And back
Yeah.
to being fully active mama, and you just felt a million times better.
Yeah, there was no complications. It was incredible. I was like, oh, okay, I did it. That
Oh,
wasn't so
that's
bad.
so incredible. And have you met your donor, Miranda?
I
Your
have
donor
not.
family. Your donor family.
No,
I
I
apologize.
haven't. I did write them a letter, and
Yes.
I haven't heard back, but that's okay. I mean, I hope they got my letter and it brought them some comfort.
Beautiful. Such
Yeah,
a gift to give that back and share how those
absolutely.
lungs are thriving right through you.
Yes.
And then you declined again. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I had almost 5 years, 4.5 really, really good years of good health,
Incredible.
being able to live my life, travel, be a mom, just live a normal life for once. I mean, minus all the medications, but that's been my whole life. So, yeah, 4.5 really good years. And then I think, we got back from Cuba and I just declined really, really quickly after that, after my trip. They told me I had chronic rejection. And I think within like probably 4 months, I literally could not walk up my stairs to my bedroom. I had to get carried to bed. I couldn't walk to the bathroom. I was just 24/7 on the couch. I could not breathe. I lost probably like 20 pounds. I was so sick. It was, oh, I didn't even experience that with my first transplant. I didn't get that sick. Um, so finally, you're a little bit stubborn because we're tough and we're like, we're fine. And I finally
Well, I don't even
on
think it's on purpose. I don't even think it's
no,
on purpose, to be honest. Like I think we're so far skewed, right?
yeah,
In how we feel, in that and how far we are from feeling normal. But we
yes,
actually think this new normal is normal, right? So I
yeah,
don't even think it's intentional. I just think it's what we adapt to, right?
yes, totally. Yeah, we don't realize it. That's so
Jalen,
true.
I want to say thank you for this amazing comment. I too agree. And gosh, Miranda really is the most beautiful soul who has ever blessed this earth. I cannot agree more. Let's find her the donor that she needs, Jalen. Let's do this together. Let's get this done.
Thank
Let's get her
you.
back to living this full life.
Uh, so yeah, so on New Year's Eve of 2020, I went into emerge because I could not breathe. I think within honestly 20 minutes, I was like on oxygen on a hospital bed. I didn't wait in emerge at all. And that's it. I don't remember anything else after that, like nothing. I just from what people have told me. Apparently, I was intubated immediately. I was in a coma for 11 days because they had to try and find a match for me and they had to reserve my lung function and try and keep me alive while they could try and search for lungs for me. Miraculously, they found a perfect match within 11 days, which is just like a miracle in my eyes.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Meant to happen.
match. So when they finally woke me up, they're like, "Oh, you had a double lung transplant and you've been in a
Oh my
coma for 11
heaven.
days." So that was quite shocking. I did not expect that at all.
Wow.
Yeah, and that recovery was very, very, very different than the first transplant.
How so?
That recovery, oh my goodness, it was so hard. I spent 96 days in the hospital. There were so many nights I just wanted to give up. Like I would beg them to please just let me give up. I just didn't have the fight. It was so hard. I was in and out of the ICU more times than I can count because my lungs just kept filling up with fluid. And every time that would happen, I would require an additional surgery. So back to the OR, back to the ICU, over and over and over. And I just felt so defeated. Like
Well, and for those of you who don't understand lung complications, it is the scariest thing in the world to not be able to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
It is just the absolute scariest thing. I remember even before my lungs were really troubled with rejection from my bone marrow transplant, I was in the hospital with leukemia, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I was shouting, "Gosh, I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe!" And the nurse at the time had come in and she was like, "Everyone on the floor, they panic, and it's okay. Just take some deep breaths, calm down. It's okay. You're just overwhelmed." And I'm like, no, like, I just can't breathe. Like I really can't breathe. And she was like, no. And my husband had even stayed that night because it was a pretty complicated evening. I needed to go for a surgery soon after, and he had stayed the night. And even he's like rubbing this shoulder, like, it's okay. Just take some breaths. And I'm like, no, like I'm not able to breathe. because I was stressed. Like I'm now stressed because I can't breathe,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
And my lungs were overwhelmed with fluid and I needed to be rushed to the ICU as well. And it's the scariest feeling in the world. It feels like you are drowning alive. Like you just can't come and get a sip of air. And then with lung rejection, heavens, like it was so confusing for me in my mind because, I had done so well after my bone marrow transplant. And then as I'm on my hikes, I just can't seem to get enough air, and on the seawall, I couldn't do the same thing soon enough, even walking flats. And it's so confusing because when you're sitting down, you actually feel well, right? You have pretty much enough oxygen to kind of disperse around for the most part. And then I would stand up and walk across my own little kitchen and feel as though I was going to pass out and lose capacity of all bodily functions because I had no oxygen with the slightest little of movements. And you're constantly living in flight or fight mode when you can't get in enough air. Your entire body is reacting to this too in a way that I remember my pulse, it was just going so fast, I'm sure, just to distribute the tiniest amount of oxygen that it could, but that also puts you in this flight or fight mode, right? And then for me, my decline was very fast, but it was so overwhelming because I'd always been very active and very fit before, right? And then now I physically can't move and everyone's like, oh, just rest, but there's only so much you can rest, and oh my heavens, it's brutally hard. I'd fallen to 80 pounds too. You lose a lot of weight because your body is just doing 20 marathons a day just to breathe, just to get in enough air. And it's so incredibly hard. And I don't know personally if it was a lack of oxygen to my brain, because I found it so humbling to wear my oxygen. I had 2 young kids and I just wanted to be normal mommy. And so I oftentimes would wear it at night, but I would try to avoid wearing it in the day as much as I could. And I don't know if a lot of what I experienced was a lack of oxygen or perhaps depression that came in tow with that path of just being so incapacitated, really. I couldn't drive. I had lost vision in my eyes from the high dose steroids. I mean, you name it. I couldn't even watch television. I couldn't read. It was brutally challenging on all fronts. But it's really important to highlight how hard this journey is and what it really feels like to lose your breath and all that you go through mentally and emotionally. And so when Miranda's saying, gosh, I wanted to give up, of course, you are holding on by a thread, just a thread in these states. And when you're a recipient for transplant, there's a reason, right? Because you are deemed to not be able to survive after a 2-year period if you don't get this transplant. And so you are literally hanging on by a thread. I remember my husband was like, Erica just doesn't seem like herself. He was saying this to my bone marrow transplant physician. Erica just doesn't seem like herself when I was waiting for my lungs. And he was like, oh my gosh, like she's just doing anything she can to survive today, and just to hold on. And I knew in my head that's all I needed to do, but gosh, it was brutally hard, brutally hard. What helped you stay the course?
Kale.
Yes,
Kale
of course.
Fighting and my nieces every single day.
Yes.
If it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have had the fight in me to keep fighting.
Yes. The same for myself. And I always, there was this incredible woman who came in to see me when I had leukemia, and she too needed salvage chemotherapy. She too needed this bone marrow transplant. And when I needed all this treatment regimen, I was like, this sounds brutal. Like, find me someone who's thriving right on the other side of all this crazy treatment. Find me somebody who's thriving. I needed to see this inspirational role model in the flesh, and so my team was amazing, and they looked through all their files because it's very rare to have salvage chemotherapy, right? And they found this beautiful woman, Mary. And Mary had been 45. She was 10 years older than I was at the time she needed all of this treatment. She too needed this round of salvage chemotherapy. She, however, thrived through salvage chemotherapy and then had the bone marrow transplant right after. Wow. But then fast forward, she was now, I think 15 years after that point, she was around 60 years old. She came to see me on like this darkest of dark days, right? And then she came in and she was just such a light. And she said, you know what, Erica, like, she just said everything I needed to hear. You're going to feel like you are just a shell of yourself, that you are just not even in there. And that's exactly what I felt like, right? She's like, you just have to hold on and let them do their thing. I promise you're going to come back. And she was leaving that visit with me And guess where she was going? She was off to meet her firstborn grandchild.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
for me, that was such a full circle story. I instantly envisioned myself pushing my future grandbabies down the Ambleside seawall here on the North Shore of Vancouver. And instantly had this fierce vision, like literally in this vision, I'm 80 years old. I'm this super fit grandma, and I'm pushing my babies down this seawall, my grandbabies, and my kids are there with their future wives. No pressure on my kids, but and everything's just happy. I can hear the laughter all around. I can taste the salt water in my mouth. I can feel the wind in my hair. I can feel the sun on my face. And this fierce vision, not even just picturing it, but really connecting with the feeling behind it and still wanting to be mom, let alone grandma, is what really helped me stay the course too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And now your lungs are still doing really well.
They are. Yeah, my lungs are doing amazing. I'm so grateful. Yeah, no, that's been a real blessing. So when I
And
woke
have you
up
been
from
able
my,
to meet
sorry,
this donor?
I haven't. No, I actually haven't written this donor a letter yet. I think it's just one of those things that you got to wait till the time is really right.
Of course.
It's a hard letter to write, so
It is a hard letter to write.
I will definitely.
And so then throughout this path, your kidneys have taken a toll.
Yes.
And so tell me about that decline of your kidneys.
So before my transplant, I was seeing a nephrologist for my kidneys, but they were okay. Like they were, teetering, but they were okay from the tacrolimus. One of the rejection medications we have is really hard on them. So I was seeing a nephrologist, but they were stable and fine. When I woke up from my coma, I was hooked up to a dialysis machine, and they said, "Don't worry, your lungs took, or not lungs, your kidneys took a hard hit, but they'll recover. Just give them some time. They'll bounce back. You're young, you're resilient." I said, "Oh, okay, whatever." So I was quite hopeful that they would recover, but that just hasn't been the case, unfortunately.
Well, and it's funny the things they say, and
Yeah.
I've been told too, but because I have the same thing, not quite as severe as where you're at, but with failing kidneys from all of these harsh medications and these immunosuppressive medications that keep our rejection at bay and keep our lungs happy and keep us happy. My bone marrow transplant, they also have harsh ramifications. And as far as I understand it, you mentioned one drug in particular called tacrolimus.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it, this drug almost makes debris, almost like atherosclerosis, forms these plaques in our vessels. And it's kind of the same thing when you take this tacrolimus. I understand it makes these kind of debris in these tiny little kidney tubules. So then the kidney can't really filter what it needs to filter. And so hence Miranda then needs to go for dialysis to get her blood filtered, right? Almost through this pseudo filter.
Yeah.
But this is extensively timely. How much time do you spend doing this every week?
16 hours, 4 times
Oh,
4 hours a day, 4 hours. Yeah.
Well, and plus getting to the hospital and making the time for it. And then I know better than anyone else, hospitals run late, right? Yeah. And it's not just 4 hours.
No.
It is probably at least 6 hours every one of those days. And it's a lifetime commitment. Yes. How has the COVID crisis affected you in your situation? Great question, Dan. Being so immune compromised, Miranda, let's talk about how you've navigated COVID with, new lungs and a failing kidney.
Yeah, so I was actually in the hospital recovering from my second transplant when COVID hit. Fortunately, it was towards the end of my visit because after COVID hit, I was not allowed any visitors except one person. I couldn't see my son. I couldn't see my mom. It was really difficult towards the end. But yeah, it was scary at the beginning. I was still scary, but at the very beginning, it was very scary getting home. And then it was odd because I was so isolated in the hospital, and then I got home, but I was still isolated for so long. So that was kind of a strange thing as well. Like the world had stopped. It kind of felt like. But yeah, navigating it now that I'm home and dealing with everything, I try to just live as much of a normal life as I can, especially because I feel like, I don't know, I think people like Erica and I, we look at life a little bit differently. So I'm trying to live as much of a normal life as I can, but be cautious. So wearing my mask, washing my hands, all those kinds of things, but I still definitely am living my life.
I can speak on this too, and I appreciate exactly what you said, Miranda.
Yeah.
And you and I definitely see the world through a different lens, right?
Yeah.
Every day that you and I are each gifted is such a gift, right?
Yeah.
And we both want to live that gift to the fullest because we know, well, just like anybody, none of us know what tomorrow brings in tow, but for us, we know that lesson far too intimately well. And so I think you and I are both very respectful of the gifts that we've been given in our lungs and in my new bone marrow and in everything we've been given, very respectful of those great gifts. And we're both very cautious, right?
Yeah.
Following health recommendations and masking and taking the appropriate cautions, right? But at the same time, we didn't go through everything we've been through to hide away in a box and live in complete fear at the same time. And so we are both continuing to live this full and rich life because for both of us, none of us know what tomorrow has in store. Yeah. And so I think that's it's a fine balance to ride, right? It's a really fine balance to ride. But I think after navigating all that we've both been through, I think we've learned the way to perfect that balance of staying safe, but yet living at the same time. Great question, Dan. Thank you for joining us today. I think that's a really important question. Okay, so you've been in dialysis for years now. Yeah. And so how come you're still waiting to find a donor? Let's talk about this. You've been on the kidney transplant list for how long?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, honestly, I just actually got active on the deceased list because I had to deal with a couple other bumps in the road that I had.
Okay, so this is confusing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back.
Okay.
How long have you known that you would need a kidney transplant? Let's say that.
Since since I woke up from my coma, and I was on dialysis, so January 2020.
Okay, so yeah, so a really long time. And so what Miranda's talking about a little bit here is that there's two different options in which we can get a donor for a transplant. There is an option where you can put it out to friends and family and strangers, right? Who might want to share a kidney for Miranda. Yes. But they can also, if they're not a match for Miranda, they can go into a pool.
Yeah.
Yes. A donation pool where it's kind of like an exchange pool.
Yeah,
so one donor
exchange.
A paired kidney exchange. Yeah. Great. Thank you for the terminology. And so it's one donor can sign up, technically for Miranda, but that donor isn't a match for our beautiful Miranda. But that donor might be a match for somebody else on the kidney transplant list. And then somebody else who's on the list wanting a donor might have a match in that pool that might be the perfect match for Miranda. So that's how the way that works. Yes. Yeah. And then you can also try to find a donor just applying specifically for you. And Miranda has done this for years now. And I know she's been close on a couple of people that have applied. And tell us what happened with that, please, Miranda.
So yeah, I have had quite a few people get tested. I know.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing.
My brother really wanted to give me one, but he wasn't a match. I had a couple of friends who it just didn't work out with. I actually had one of my close girlfriends. She was at the very last step to be able to give me a kidney. We were like on the verge of booking this surgery date. It was so exciting. And at the very, very last step, the surgeon found something that it wouldn't work out. Like literally the last step.
And such an emotional roller coaster.
It was. And at that point, we were like at the last step. Like we were booking the surgery. I had told everybody I had a perfect match. It was like go time. So that was really, really, really hard to deal with.
Yes.
And all the way back to step one.
And then there have been others who are trying to go through testing.
Yeah, there is. I have two people right now, also, again, trying to see if they're going to be a match. So it's kind of one of those things where you don't want to get your hopes up because it is really just such a huge letdown when it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I remember even with my lungs, just never knowing if I was going to get that gift. And for lungs, it's different than a kidney because kidney, you can have a live kidney donor.
Yeah.
But when you're waiting for lungs, my heavens, it was so hard emotionally because for something great to happen to me and for you, something terrible had to happen to somebody else. And that was really hard for me to grapple with, as I'm sure it was for you. Absolutely. And this is a bit different with a kidney donor, given it's a live donation, but it's still so much to ask. Right. And it's a really hard spot for anybody to be in. And I want to share something that I pulled up earlier because Canada, this is really important. I hope you're all listening. According to public opinion polls, more than 90% of Canadians support organ and tissue donation. 90% of us support organ and tissue donation. That is amazing. But guess what? Guess what? Only 32% have registered their decision. Only 32% are on this potential list to be this match for Miranda, right? And so we really need to increase the number of people who are registered to give life and to give organs. And Miranda was now saying that she's now on the deceased organ list because this is another sector that you can move into. And as far as I understand, you can't be on both. Is that right? You can't be on both lists?
No. I think they haven't told me that. So I can still actively be looking for a live donor. Well,
I see.
On the deceased list. Yeah. As far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a difference in I don't know, I'm really asking genuinely if you've been told this. Is there a difference in the kidney, whether it's live or deceased?
Yeah, they do say that a live kidney is expected to last about on average 5 years longer.
5 years longer. And how long will this kidney last on average?
I don't know. That's kind of a question. I'm not really sure. And I know it's because my CF actually affects the whole transplant differently than like a regular person who would need one, even with my lungs.
Wow. And we're all about defying the odds. Right? Exactly. We're all about exceeding the odds and defying the odds in every way we can. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not actually sure, but hopefully long time.
Okay. And I want to share a couple more potential misnomers. There is no age limit for organ donation. The oldest organ donor in Canada, guess what? Do you know, Miranda?
I think I heard it was like 91 or something.
92. Isn't that incredible?
That's amazing.
You can still donate organs at 92 years old. So get out there, Canada. Register your decision. You can learn more on my Give Life page at risetoday.com as well. There are links for everything there. A decal on your driver's license will do as well. What else did I want to share? Did you know, this is really interesting. I didn't know this before. Did you know that you're more likely to need a transplant than to ever be a donor?
Yeah, I did know that.
And so Canada, let's keep the organ supplies prevalent, right? Because who knows? No one knows what tomorrow brings, as we've been saying this whole show. And you may find yourself in need. Your mom may find herself in need. Your best friend, your child. You never know what tomorrow brings. So let's get these lists full. Let's get registered on these lists because look, giving life, it doesn't just impact us. It impacts our children. It impacts all of those around us. I could go on and on, but it's incredible. Like so many people can donate. So many people are interested in it, but they just haven't taken that action step. And we talk a lot. There's some countries, even some provinces now who are opt-in.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
Or opt out versus opting in.
Yeah.
And I am definitely pro opting in, right? Or sorry, opting out. Why we're a little bit behind the bandwagon, I don't know, but hopefully that can start up one day very soon. Now, Miranda, tell us, what will be the first thing that you want to do once you have this new kidney and you're feeling much better?
Oh, the first thing, probably jump in a pool of water. I know it sounds so cheesy, but I love the water and I have not been able to have a bath, go swimming, nothing ever since I've been on dialysis. And I'm just like, that.
Tell us why, because you have a port?
Yeah. And I can't get it wet. I have to tape it all up even when I shower. It's super difficult. It's annoying, but.
Oh, that's gotta be hard though.
It is. And one of the other things that's really difficult is the diet. It's like they just took all my favorite foods and were like, you can't have any of them.
Oh, shoot. So what can't you eat?
Can't have chocolate.
Uh-oh.
I know. I'm like, it's Christmas time.
What else?
Potatoes, which I love potatoes. No. I can't have tomatoes. Like my 3 favorite things.
It kind of rhymes. It kind of rhymes. No potatoes or tomatoes.
There's actually a huge, bigger list, but those are the top 3 that I'm just dying to eat. I'm going to eat like a whole box of chocolate when I get my kidney.
Well, we just wanted to jump on, and it is a season of giving, everyone. And Miranda, please tell me if someone is interested in seeing if they could be a donor for you, how would they go about it? What are links that they can contact you? What are the links that they can contact BC Transplant? Who is it that they reach out to?
Yeah, if you want, you can definitely get a hold of me. My email is just my name, Miranda Frigon @gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and you can also get a hold of the nurse at VGH Transplant Clinic, and just tell them that you're interested to get more information about it.
Okay, excellent. And the nurse at the VGH Transplant Clinic can be reached at. Do you know the phone number by chance?
I don't know it off the top of my
That's
head,
okay.
but I can
If you
definitely
call,
add it in.
okay, if you call 604-875-4111 and just ask to speak with the kidney transplant clinic, I think
Yeah.
you can get directed pretty
Yeah, that
quickly.
works. Yeah.
And it is a season of giving. So let's gift her this new life ahead with this new year that is coming. Miranda, I hope we get a donor in place for you very, very soon. Are there some lasting words of wisdom that you can share with our amazing audience?
Just like if you've ever considered being an organ donor, like now is the time. I'm living proof. Erica is living proof that it works. And I would totally encourage you to do it because you never know whose life you could save.
So true. And we are here to shine on our donors, right? Like I know I was just telling Dwight, my podcast magician, before we started the show, like every single mountain I stand on, I am always sticking out my chest and showing my world to my donor. And my bone marrow transplant donor is also a live donor. Fabian Hoppe, I call him Hope, pronounced Hoppe in his home country of Germany, right? But this complete stranger who rose to help from halfway around the world. Halfway around the world. Like what an initiative of world peace, you know, to help in my time of need. And he's this young mountaineering adventurer. And if you're keen to get on the stem cell bone marrow transplant list, that's an international registry. Just imagine who you could serve. And donate blood, because now is the time more than ever that blood donations are really, really needed. Get out and save lives. Get a superhero cape on your shoulder today. My heavens, it's possible. You can be a superhero. This is a season of giving. Please share this show because so many people are waiting for organ donation. They are waiting to get to live their lives, and they are very hopeful to stay the course. Love you, Miranda. We've got a lot of love for Miranda today. Valerie, everyone, I'm so happy that you are here with us today cheering on our girl. And let's get her a donor in place. And let's get this. Like she said, it was go time before. Let's make it go time, right? All the best risers and thrivers. Sorry again about the 1 p.m. show with Kevin Hines. The survivor having jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge in a suicide attempt, and the passionate mental health and suicide prevention advocate. We will get that back on the books. And you can download all of these shows on Apple, Spotify, any of your favorite streaming platforms. We will be back with you in the new year. And until then, you can see my little red Christmas lights in the back. Ho, ho, ho. Happy, happy holidays. All the best risers, all the best thrivers. We've loved having you with us. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Miranda.
Thanks.